Welcome to Sailing Avanti. We are Gerard and Jacqueline, sailing our 41-foot monohull Avanti around the world from Cape Town, South Africa.
It's the day before going through the Panama Canal and we're ready for it. So our fenders have just come and our lines are on the way. So when you book the transit, it's important to have really big fenders to keep you safe from the wall or keep good enough distance between you and the boat next to you. And the fenders rental is normally included if you use an agent, or if you rent it separately, it can cost anything between $80 and $120, $140 for the rental of the fenders, and then you drop them off in Panama City at one of the marinas and they come and pick them up. So it's really easy to rent them instead of buying super big ones to keep your boat safe and then having extra stuff on the boat that we have to find space for.
And so in preparation for going through the Panama Canal, people have warned us and you kind of sign an indemnity because the canal is not really built for boats like ours.
What is the exact words?
So they basically say that you're signing that any damage caused by the canal or the infrastructure to your boat is not their problem, and the insurance doesn't cover it because you're using the canal that's really meant for bigger ships. So we've been advised to really try and protect like fragile stuff like solar panels, because they throw the lines from the side to you, which you have to catch and then tie a bigger rope to so that it can go to the capstans. They throw with these, they call it monkey fists, that's tied on the end. So it's like I don't know what they tie in there. It's almost like a rock or something that they just tie the rope around, and they throw that from the side onto your boat. So normally they try and throw it towards the bow, but I mean, you never know. So if that thing goes solidly on a solar panel, it will definitely shatter the glass. So we just putting some cushions in some Ziploc bags and then into our new sail bag, and that's going to go on top of the back solar panels. If that doesn't cover everything, we'll probably inflate the bottom of our inflatable dinghy of Blasopi. So that's quite a nice rigid and it's light, so we'll put that on as well and just tie it down with ropes so that we know the solar panels are relatively covered. The ones on the Dodger we will just try and protect with we've got some awnings that normally go on the side here of the bimini, so we're going to try and tie that down so that they're also covered. Stadiger, liefje op jou stadigste.
Oh, good job.
There are two start times for going through the canal: a morning start or an afternoon start with an overnight on the lake. We were assigned the morning slot, and as soon as the advisor made his jump on board, we had some granola and yogurt for strength before starting the first locks at sunrise. Are you ready, Steve? Once we tied ourselves together, we had to catch the monkey balls so that we had lines between ourselves and the walls. When making your transit booking, you can choose to be alone, nested, like we are tied to another boat, against the wall, or with a tugboat. Against the wall might bring some damage to your vessel, and the tug's motors are just too fast for Avanti to come out whole on the other side. Because the South African Durban Boys' jack ski catamaran is shorter than Avanti, we tied both bow lines to Avanti, and the stern lines had one on Avanti and one on jet ski.
As the doors close on our first lock, we're still a little bit nervous. As the lock fills with water, you have to keep tension in the blue lines and keep tying it off so that the turbulence created by the water that enters the lock doesn't throw our boats around, ending up against the walls. Another source of turbulence is from the prop wash from the boat ahead of us. As soon as it engages its propellers to move forward, it creates a lot of turbulence that washes all the way back to us. One has to be very careful to keep the line's tension while this is happening so that the boat movement is limited. On the previous transit where we helped out as line handlers, it actually broke off a fair lead on the steel boat that we helped out. Once the lock has been filled up, the line handlers on the side untie the blue lines and you pull them back on board as quick as possible. This is to enable the line handlers on the side to walk with the thinner monkey ball lines that's lighter to handle for the long walk to the next lock. On the way into the lake that connects the two oceans, there are 3 sets of locks, and our vessels go behind the large shipping vessels. The first 2 only have one large steel door each, and the last one has a double steel door. This was designed by the US for a potential attack on the canal. There was also a massive third steel door that goes from the waterline up to ground level as another safety measure. The line handlers we have on board were friends that we met in Santa Marta. But if you don't find anybody that's willing to volunteer for you as line handlers, you can hire professional ones at around $100 per person for the transit.
The Panama Canal should have been built in Nicaragua, but last minute changed to Panama. It also should have been at sea level all the way as the French designed it, but they soon learned it was too expensive to excavate and had too many lives lost. Once the company was declared bankrupt, the USA took over the project and completed it in 1914 at a cost of $350 million at the time. It was the most expensive US construction project at that point in history. Once you're in the lake, you're not allowed to swim, use your dinghy without prior permission to your arrival, and no sailing. So we had to motor the 30 plus nautical miles through the narrow canal. First 3 done!
Almost there, almost halfway.
If we had the afternoon slot, you would swing right just after entering the lake and tie to a mooring ball for the night. The line handlers would stay on board, but the advisor does leave. In the next morning, around 8 o'clock, the next advisor jumps on board and you continue through the lake to the next set of locks. Lake Gatun is a large man-made lake. The lake is fresh and the water is replenished only with rainwater. In the lake you will find Royal and Atlantic tarpon, peacock bass, horse mackerel, carp, the odd crocodile and even manatees, who've been placed here to help eat the grass off the lake bed. With full tummies after my lentil moussaka, it was time to raft up once more.
On the way down, we have one lock, and then there's a 1 nautical mile journey to the next set. There's a fault line here, so in case of an earthquake, they left some space between the locks. Sailing boats can only go through the original locks. In 2016, a new set of locks that can accommodate very large vessels, also called Panama ships, was commissioned. These new ships that these locks can accommodate are 1.5 times the size of the previous ships,
and they carry twice as much cargo. This doubled the capacity of the canal. They now average about 40 ships per day, creating $2 billion in revenue for Panama. The canal, however, can still not accept supertankers. They still need to sail around the Horn.
We've just arrived at the second set of locks, and we have a bit of a hiccup. We were supposed to go, or a cruise ship was supposed to come in behind us, but they had a locomotive issue in this lock just while we were going in, and the cruise ship has been directed to go to the lock next to us. So now we have to either back up out of the locks, and the wind is blowing from behind. The advisor says he's never done it before, or we have to wait for the next ship. The problem is the next ship, it's not really authorized to be in a lock with us because it's too long, but he said they're going to override the authorization or something, and that ship is going to come right up to us. So it is going to be very close. At least we don't have the propeller of the ship next to us. The bow of the ship will be right on our stern. So we're still waiting for 100% confirmation, and how long we have to wait for it. We were really well timed with the cruise ship and lined up to go, but now, what can you do? Hiccup.
There is 243 meters from our stern to the lock door. This ship is 230 meters long, leaving only 13 meters between us, her, and the doors. Vessel's name is Carmen. She's a car carrier and can carry up to 8,000 cars or 31,000 tons. Her draft is 10.4 meters and she is 32 meters wide.
It is too damn close.
Now the big question. What does it cost to go through the canal? Well, for our size vessel, with an agent, it costs us $2,700 US. Without an agent, you would pay around $2,200 US for any vessel under 65 foot, including the lines and the fenders. But you do have to pay a bond if you're not using an agent of $1,000 US at the bank. This gets returned to you once you're through and you've had no incidents.
It's not difficult to arrange everything yourself, and all the canal personnel speaks English. We initially decided to go this route. When you don't use an agent, you have to pay an additional buffer fee of $1,000 USD to cover any unforeseen issues during your transit. This fee is normally refunded into your bank account within 60 days of your transit. We started to fill in the documentation and realized that we needed to provide an IBAN number as part of our banking details for this buffer fee to be refunded. South African banks, however, don't use this IBAN number system, and we were therefore worried that should there be a query from the canal regarding our banking details, we would be in the middle of the Pacific Ocean and not contactable. We therefore decided to play it safe by using an agent to avoid the risk of not getting back our buffer fee. The larger vessels pay anything between $350,000 to $1 million US to go through the canal. But it does only take 8 hours to get from the Pacific to the Atlantic or vice versa. This journey would probably take about 20 days extra, or maybe 30 if they have to go around Cape Horn.
The final line handler job.
We made it. We're in the Pacific.
Thank you, William.
Our agent arranged for a motorboat to come and pick up the lines and fenders from us while passing Balboa Yacht Club. And in a few minutes later, William was picked up from Avanti. The helmsmen on these pilot vessels are so versed in picking up and dropping off advisors. It was time for some celebration bubbles and burgers for dinner after a very successful day.
We anchored just outside La Playita Marina and we woke up to a beautiful sunrise and took our friends back to land so that they could catch the bus back to Colón. Join us next week as Blaashoppie almost gets destroyed and we make final preparations to leave Panama and head west on our biggest crossing to date, the Pacific Ocean. Please leave us a thumbs up if you enjoyed this video or give us a comment if you have any questions about the Panama Canal. Thank you to our Patreons who support the making of these videos. You can join them by clicking on the link in the description below.